Good morning students. Today let us learn regarding the concept of how can you create a multiple threads, okay, and what is the concept of is alive and join methods, and how the priorities of thread is being set, and what is the concept of synchronization under the model 4. So creating multiple threads, before this you have already seen how to create a single thread, how to create two threads. So in the single thread, that is nothing but till now we had seen the concept of one single main program, main thread we had seen in the previous session. After that, creating two threads we had seen in the concept of extending as well as implementing the runnable interface. So there were two ways how you are going to create two threads, but more than two threads, that is nothing but the concept is nothing but the multiple threads. So here you can create any number of threads as you need. Okay, so this is a simple program which creates three threads, which create three threads in this program. So let us see the program over here. So first concept is regarding you're going to create a class new thread. This program is an example for creating a multiple thread. So we have a class new thread implements runnable. Okay, so this interface is same what we had seen in the previous example itself. So let us see same concept, class new thread implements runnable. Then string name, you might have, this is one difference. Why? Because the name I'm passing as the parameter as many number of threads. That's why you need to remember the concept of why I've used string name. I'll let you know why this string name I've declared over here. Then I've created an object of thread T, and then I've called the constructor new thread. Okay, so within this class new thread, its implements runnable is nothing but your whatever the new class you're going to create, that is implementing the run function that is defined on the runnable interface. So that's what we have learned in the last session. So within that class new thread, I'm going to define string name and thread T as an object. Then I've called the new thread constructor string thread name, whatever the thread name you'll be passing over the main, so that will be stored over here. So now this thread name, whatever you pass, right, that I'm storing in this particular name. And then within this object I created new and then thread constructor with this object and the name of the thread. You know why is this object is being created? So this object of thread is being created to run the runnable interface. Using this interface, I'm going to I'm nothing but I'm implementing the runnable interface using this object of the thread class. So this is how you're going to call the thread constructor with the parameter this, which is an object of the thread, and that is used to run the runnable interface, and then this is nothing but the name of the string what you have been passed. So once you create this, now your thread is ready for the execution. Now system out.println new thread with the T information. With this T information, you know what are the information is there within this thread. So that will give you the information about the thread name, whatever the name you passed over here, that name, as well as the priority of the thread and the group of thread it belongs. So you know the priority of the thread, the default is 5, and the group of the thread it belongs is for the main thread itself. So that will be printing. After that, you will be calling t.start. You know what is the job of t.start? Once your thread is ready for the execution, you know when the object thread T is created itself, your thread is being born. As I told you in the life cycle of a thread, whenever you create an object T, that means your thread is born and it can either go to the start stage or it can go to the stop stage. That is nothing but the dead state. So you can create that particular thread. When you tell t.start, what is happening? It starts the thread. It starts the thread for the execution, but those threads will be moving to the runnable interface. Okay, it will be moving to the runnable interface. Runnable block. It waits in the runnable block until the processor is allocated to it. Once the processor is allocated to it, it will be going to the running state. Now your thread is in the start state, means that is in the runnable stage, and it is waiting for the processor to be allocated to the thread. So once the processor is allocated, it will go into the it will go into this void run state, void run state, void run state. So within this same concept, try catch. So here I have used the for int I is equal to 5, I greater than 0, I minus minus. So what is happening? The loop pauses, starts from 5, and it decrements till 1. It decrements till 1 with the sleep, with the pause between 1 second between the each iteration. So thread dot sleep means 1000 milliseconds, means it is nothing but 1 second. 1 second. So what is happening in this try catch block? Try for int I is equal to 5. You will print the name of the thread, whatever the name of the thread is there, this name itself. For example, if I pass the thread name as 1, okay, so it would give me name as here, for example, 1. So it will print 1:5, 1:5, okay, 1:5, and then it will sleep that particular thread for 1 second. So this is what is happening. Again the iteration, 1 second pause, 4, 3, 2, 1. So in case if the sleeping thread is being interrupted, then this would say that name of the thread is 1 is being interrupted. Okay, 1 is being interrupted. If this thread is being completed by doing all the iteration, that is 5 to 1, then it would say that it is exiting. The thread is being exiting. So this is regarding the concept of the same concept, same for loop we have used, same for loop, try catch loop we have used. Only difference is here I have called the name, string name, and that I'm passed and storing it in the name. That's why I declared here string name. In that name I'm passed whatever the thread name. Now for example, if I pass 1 will be if I pass 1 will be stored over here. 1 will be stored over here, and here this comma 1. So if I print this t object, it will give me 1, default value 5, and the group to which the thread belongs. So this is regarding how the constructor as well as the constructor, that is a new thread, as well as the run works, So within this run I have int I is equal to 5, I greater than 0, I minus minus. So what is happening in this? Actually the loop iterates from 5, and each iteration it is decrementing the one value, and it prints the value of that thread. Okay, 5, like 1, if the name of your thread is 1, 1, 5, 1, 3, 1, 4, 1, 3, 1, 2, with the pause of 1 second. Okay, and if your sleeping thread, now your thread goes to sleep, if it is being interrupted, then it will tell that your thread is 1 is being interrupted, and if it's completed its iteration, then it will tell that thread 1 is exiting. So this is overall concept of how the what is there with the class new thread constructor and how the void run runs. Now let us go to the main. Actually the program begins from this concept itself. So let us go to this particular main. From here where exactly your multi-thread concept works. Now within this public class multi-thread demo, public start void main. Okay, when this starts itself, your main thread is actually started. Within that main thread, I called using the new keyword, I called new thread 1 parameter, new thread 2, within this I call 2, and new thread 3. Now what is happening over here? When you call new thread 1, it goes to this particular here. One is being sent over here. Okay, I'll just erase this particular section. Now when I call new thread 1, when I call new thread 1 is being passed over here. 1 is being passed over here, and that 1 is being stored in this name, and t is equal to new is a keyword, and then I call the thread constructor with this and name. So name is now 1. Okay, now name is 1. So what is happening over here is new thread this comma name. So name is 1. In this when you tell this particular statement, what is it telling? Now your thread is ready for the execution. After that, system out.println new thread t. Now it will print 1, 5 and main. 1, 5 and main. What is happening? 1 is the name of the thread, 5 is the default value of the thread, and main is nothing but the group of thread it belongs to. Okay, then it will come for t1.start. That means t1.start means your thread is going to be started, so it has to go to the runnable state. So your thread 1, that is one thread, will be in the runnable state waiting for the processor. Okay, once it gets the processor, it will once it gets the processor, it will start executing. Now when I tell t dot start, it will go again back to the main, and then again this new thread 2 will be started. Same way new thread 2, simultaneously these all threads will be called. So here what will happen is, now instead of 1, 2 is there, so next line 2 will be printing, and then again it will, even the second thread, that is second thread also, 2 thread also will be waiting. Same way, name is equal to 2, t is equal to new thread this comma 2, and system.println new thread 2. Instead then 2 will be printing and t dot start. So this is also, second thread is also in the runnable state. Again it will return if the processor is not been allocated for this particular, if it is in runnable state, if the processor is busy running something else, so it will be in the runnable state, so it will return back to the main, and again new thread 3. Now third thread also will be printed. So this system out dot print for third thread also will be printed, and again that thread is also in the starting stage, and it is also waiting for the processor to be allocated. Now once the processor, if it is been allocated, if the processor is been allocated for the first thread, what the concept will happen is public void run for the first thread, it will print, okay, for int I is equal to 5, and it will print that for that 1, it will print that 1 5. For example, if the first thread has got the processor, imagine that first thread got the processor, so your one thread started, so it will come over here, int I is equal to 5 greater than 0, 1 and 5 will be printing, it will go to sleep. When this goes to sleep, immediately the second thread might start. The second thread will get that particular second one, again it will tell that second colon 5, and then again that thread goes to sleep, third thread might get the chance. So it depends whether all the 3 threads will get simultaneously. It depends on the processor how it goes. So it will print like 1 colon 5, 2 colon 5 and 3 colon 5. It depends on the processor. So simultaneously these 3 threads also will be getting this particular, will start the process. Once the processor is being allocated, this block will be executed, and in between when this thread goes to sleep, some other thread will occupy the processor and it will execute that particular loop, and it will print that particular statement. Once this thread has been executed, the thread will exit from the loop. So this is regarding the concept of the multi-threading. So once this has been done, this here in the main thread, right, I've just told that thread dot sleep 10,000 seconds, I mean milliseconds. So this is given the longest sleep. So what is happening here? It's gone for the long sleep. Once all these threads execution is done, finally this thread will be exiting. Nothing I have printed over here for the main. For the main thread, I have not written any try catch loop with a for loop. I just made it to sleep for 10,000 milliseconds. So once that, by this 10,000 milliseconds, what will happen? These all threads will be executing, right? So once these all threads are done, if this has been interrupted again, if the sleeping thread is interrupted, main thread interrupted will come. If this thread sleep is done, that means execution is done of this main thread, then it would print that system out.println main thread exiting. So this is regarding the concept of the multi-threading. So let us see the running of this particular multi-thread program. So here it is there, multi-thread demo. Okay, so this is regarding the multi-thread demo. So let us run this particular program. So when I tell your new thread 1, new thread 2, new thread 3, so this would actually go to this particular thread name, and that is being stored over here, and this comma name is being passed, and then I'm going to print e. So that's why 3 names has to be printed. So let us run this particular program. So you can see here. So just see the output over here. New thread, initially first thread, right? New thread. So you can see new thread 1 took the parameter, so it came here 1, thread this 1, I printed this t, so name of the thread would be 1 5 main. So then I gave start, t dot start. What is happening? Actually start the thread. So it is in the runnable state. It may not have got the processor. If it have got the processor, directly it would execute here. 1 colon 5 would come, 2 colon 5 would come, 3 colon 5 would come. It did not. It is in the runnable state now. So next what it would happen? This would return to the main. So next thread object, as we know, next it will call with the parameter 2. So that 2 will be passed over here. 2 will be passed over here. Okay, 2 will be passed over here. So what is happening over here? When I tell 2 new thread 2, that thread 2 information will be printed. If you see here, thread 2 information will be printed, and t dot start, again it is waiting, and third thread it is waiting. Now it will go to the main, in the main, right, it will go, sorry, wait one second, it will go over here and it will return to the main, and this thread is being made to sleep, right? Main thread is being made to sleep for 10,000 milliseconds. So it will come back to this void run, and what was the processor waiting for? The thread, first thread was waiting. So here you can see 1:5 will be runnable, right? I is equal to 5. 1:1, name of the first thread, 1:5 will be printed, and that thread is sleep. When that thread sleep, second thread will try to attack. So second thread will be printing, and then third thread will be printing. So on the sleep until the main thread is sleeping, right? All this execution will be completed. All this execution will be completed. So once all this execution is done, it will tell that whatever the thread is been exiting. So first completed job is of 1 exiting, 2 exiting, 3 exiting, and finally after this sleep is done of the main thread is been exiting. So this is regarding the multi-thread concepts. So let us go back over here. Okay, so this is how you're going to create the multiple threads, more than one or two threads. Okay, next concept is regarding using isalive and join. Now till now whatever we were doing is we were making the main thread to sleep for the longest time, so that what is the intention is main thread should terminate at the last. Main thread should be terminate the last. Other than that, instead of making a long delay for the main thread to terminate, we can do this using using isalive and join method. So till now what we are doing, actually we were mentioning the thread main thread to sleep for a long time, so that it has enough delay to ensure that all child threads will terminate prior the main thread. So this was regarding the in the concept of the main thread. So to avoid that, in addition to that, we can also using isalive and join to check whether the child threads have been terminated or not, to check whether the child threads are alive or not, or terminated or not, whether they are alive or not. So two ways exist to determine whether the thread has finished. We have two ways to determine whether a thread has finished. So first you can call isalive. On the thread. Now what is the job of isalive on the thread? Isalive is how you check whether the someone is alive or not, whether it is a true or false. So if it is alive, the boolean value will return true. If it is not alive, it will return false. So you can call isalive on the thread. So this method is defined by the thread, and its general formula is final boolean isalive. It returns true if the thread upon which it is called is still running, and it returns false otherwise. Okay, so there are two ways I told to exist to determine whether a thread has finished or not. Okay, instead making main to sleep for a long, we can also check whether the thread has finished or not by these two ways. So one is by checking isalive method. So it is a final boolean isalive, that is having two values, true and false. If your thread is running, then it will return true. If your thread is finished its execution, then it will tell false. Okay, we use isalive very occasionally. We don't use much. Instead of other than isalive, we actually use the method called join. So what does the join method do? It waits for a thread to die. Okay, it waits for a thread to die. In other words, it causes the current running thread to stop executing until the thread it joins will complete its task. Okay, join method is nothing but it waits until your thread is been dead, or it also tells thread is been terminated. So main job is what what it does, in other words, is the current running threads, it causes the current running thread to stop executing until the thread it joins will complete the termination, will complete its task. Okay, so the syntax used is final void join throws interrupted exception. So here it is just final boolean is value. Here within the try catch, again we are using void join, and if it is being interrupted, then it will throw the interrupted exception. So this is regarding the join method. So just remember, your join method actually waits for a thread to finish or thread to die. it actually waits for a, just remember one line, it waits for a thread to, whatever the child thread is there, to finish its execution or to die or to terminate. That is regarding the join. And regarding the is alive, it will return two values, true or false. If your thread is alive or it is running, then it will return true. If it is not running, if it is dead or if it is been stopped, then it will return false. So this is regarding the using is alive and the join method. So based on this, there is a simple example regarding the join and the is alive. So let us see that particular example. So here I'll just explain, the concept actually starts from the main, but I'll just explain the function first and then we'll go and learn regarding what is happening with the flow. Okay, so same whatever we had seen in the previous multiple thread, same program concept I've taken, but in the main I've added the concept of join and is alive. Okay, so here using, this is a comment line, using join to wait for threads to finish. So here actually the program starts, class new thread, okay, implements the runnable interface. So within the runnable interface I just have the void run, okay, and then again string name thread t, and here new thread within this string thread name, new thread within this string thread name. So here what is happening, this is the constructor I'm going to call within this class, So just remember, I have string name and thread t. When I create this thread t, object of this particular thread, then my thread is in born state and it is ready for start or stop. That's what we have seen in the life cycle of the thread. Okay, then within this new thread string thread name, this thread name I'm storing in the name, as we had seen in the previous example. Then I'm calling this. Now I tell that this is ready for the execution. When I call this, it's tell that it's ready for the execution, whereas this is an object, this is nothing but the object of the thread which is actually running the runnable interface, that is void run, and then this is nothing but the name, whatever you have passed will be stored over here. When I print this particular line, system out.println new thread plus t, it will print the name of the thread, priority of the thread, as well as the name of the thread, priority of the thread, as well as the group of thread that it belongs. So this you already know. When I tell t.start, the thread is ready to start, and it may go to the either two possibilities, runnable or running. If the processor is not available, it will go to the runnable. If the processor is available, that means it is ready to start. Okay, so this is the entry point, and then regarding the run, whenever it goes to the running state, it will come to this particular function public void run, and within this try catch I have again the iteration of same, for int I is equal to 5, I greater than 0, I minus minus, and then I'm going to print that particular whatever the thread name and the iterations from 5. In between the thread I'm making to sleep for 1 second, that is 1000 milliseconds. So there is a pause of 1 second between these iterations, and in case if the sleeping thread is being interrupted, then it will show the interruption over here. Okay, and if this thread has finished its execution, then it will tell that thread is been exiting. So this is the same concept what you had seen in the multiple thread, same logic I've used. Only things I've changed is in the main. So let us go to the main. Okay, let us go to the main. From here actually our path starts, actually the program starts from here. So here what I've done is I've created you are already seen, new thread 1, new thread 2, new thread 3. Okay, but I'm storing it in the object. So when I created an object of new thread object 1, new thread object 2, new thread object 3. Now when I call this object 1, object 2, object 3 with the parameter of string name as 1, 2, 3, what would happen? It would go, all these 3 threads would actually go to this particular constructor. Now first thread will come over here, that is with the string name 1, okay, with the string name 1. And what is happening over here, t, that means object here, see what you have stored, I have created new thread object 1, new thread 1, so it will come over here, and that t is equal to new thread this comma 1 means it will print regarding the information of the first thread. Start means it is ready to start the execution, and it might be waiting in the runnable state. Okay, runnable state, running state is different, runnable state is different. Same way the second thread also might be doing the same thing, third thread information also will be printed. So what is happening exactly, these 3 printf statements will be printed. Okay, these 3 printf statements will be printed, and then it is actually checking, then it is actually what is happening, it will come it will go, if the processor is available, then these threads will be executing. First thread will be executing, in between it will go to the sleep, second thread might be executing, and third thread might be executing. So simultaneously it is happening, because we cannot judge the processor. It might be don't know which thread has gone to sleep and which thread might be executing. So that is happening. So first it will print all these three statements, and then it might begin with this loop itself if the processor is available. If not, it will check for this particular statement. Thread 1 is alive. It will thread 1 is alive. System out.println thread 1 is alive, because your thread is been started, right? So it will print object1.t.e is alive. That means this will return the true or false value. So if your thread 1 is alive, it will tell true. Object1.t.e is alive. Object 1 is this, through this object I am calling thread object, and then I am calling e is alive. Object1.t.e is alive. So I created an object, again within the thread constructor I have t object, and then I am calling e is alive function, which will return whether your thread is alive or not, whether it is running or not. Same way for the object 2, same way for the object 3. Same way for the object 1, same way for the object 2, same way for the object 3. Now what is happening, your all threads are actually running over here. All three threads are simultaneously with the iteration of pause of 1 second is running over here. Now once it is been alive, what will I do within this main thread, my main thread cub block, this is my main thread cub block, right? Over there what I'm seeing is waiting for the threads to finish. I'm waiting for the threads to finish. So how will I check whether my threads are finished or not? So that's what I told in this join function. This method waits until the thread on which it is called terminates. It waits until the thread it is being called terminates. So join method is nothing but waits for a thread to die. So within my main thread try catch, I am calling object1.t.join. So what is this doing actually? What is the job of this object1t.join? So it waits until thread 1 terminates. Waits until for thread 1 finish, and object t, this waits until thread 2 finish, and this waits until thread t finish. In case if this has been interrupted, then your main thread itself is been interrupted, because within the main thread I called these three threads to finish. So if it is, what is it waits, job is it waits until it's finished. It waits until first all these object1.t.join is it waits for first thread to finish, it waits for second thread to finish, it waits for third thread to finish. So if these all threads have been finished, then when you check whether it is alive, same statement, whether you will check thread 1 is alive, then obviously it will give false, and once here itself, if it is been terminated, when you call this, right, that means it is waiting for all these threads to finish. In case if these all threads have been finished, then it will tell that main thread is exiting. So this is regarding what is the concept of is alive and join. So just same program of multi-threading concept I brought it over here. Same here also, the concept is same. Okay, but here what is happening, you're checking whether your thread is running or not. So that's why I called with object1.t.is alive, object2.is.alive, object3.t.alive, and then I called regarding the join, and this will give the status of the alive. So let us see this particular program in the NetBeans. So let us see the running over here, that is regarding the demo join, the same concept. So let me run. So you can see the output over here. See the over here, new thread 1 5 main, new thread 2 5 main, and here you see one already been started. So that's what I told, these three threads will go to that particular function, and it will be going to that start function. If the processor is available, directly thread 1 will get that particular processor and it will execute. If it is not, all these three threads will be waiting in the runnable state. So as I told, the output is unpredictable. Now for example, these three statements might execute first. That means it will go to this new thread function. Within this thread function, one is taken as if you see, one is taken as the argument. For example, here one is taken as the argument, and system out.println new thread, this information. After it will come to t.start. So immediately after this itself, your first thread might start. If not, if processor is not available, it will come back to the main, and this 2 will be sent. 2 will be printed, and again that will be waiting for the processor. Again for the 3 will be printing, and 3 will be waiting for the processor. And this is how the program goes. And then system out.println thread 1 is alive, object 1.t.e is alive. This will be printing. If the processor is not at all available, then this will be printing. All these 6 statements will be printing together. All these 6 statements. If not, these will execute, and in between, if the processor occupies, this loop will be executing, and then again it will come back and it will print. So check the program. Check the program over here. See, now you can see, right, all these, initially when I run, the first time when I run, these 3 statements did not print together. Somewhere a new thread 1, new thread 2, after that this got printed. Okay, then you see when it is printing 5, then it will tell that this one is alive, this one is alive, so on it will tell, and then it will complete all its finishing of the work. Then it will tell 2 exiting, 1 exiting, 3 exiting, and that is completely is done. And then this is what is happening within the join. Okay, it will wait till here, and in this thread 1 is alive. After that join I called, whether thread 1 is alive, thread 2 is alive, thread 3 is alive. So then the false will when the false it will be printing, then main thread will be executing. So here what is happening over here is, in this, see, waiting for the thread to finish, check this output actually. Here actually this is waiting for the threads to finish. See here, waiting for the threads after that this was happening simultaneously, and this is what is, it is waiting until first 1 thread finishes, 2 thread finishes, 3 thread finishes, and once this has been finished, that after that I checked whether it has been alive or not. So obviously it will tell false, false, false. It is not alive. All these 3 child threads are finished, and then after that main thread has been exiting. Why? Main thread has been main thread has been executing. So each time, right, you cannot predict the output of the thread based on the processor, because we don't know which thread occupies the processor and which is running. So the output over here is unpredictable. So this is regarding the concept of is alive. So remember, is alive will give you 2 values, true or false. True or false. If the thread is running, it will return true. That is, over here it gave the value true, whereas here after the join, when you call the join, means it is waiting until the thread is to be terminated. So obviously the thread will die over here. When you call, it waits till first thread dead, second thread dead, third thread dead. After that, if you call the thread is alive or not, obviously it will be false. So once, if you don't give these statements also, then your main this is just to print, right? What does it mean? Your main thread is exiting after this. Your main thread has been exiting after this. So this is just to check the status whether your thread is alive or not. So we had seen the concept of is alive and the join program over here. Next we'll see the concept of thread priorities. Thread priorities are actually used by the thread scheduler to decide which thread should be allowed to run. That is nothing but which priority has more priority to run than the lower priority thread. So here we can set the priority by using the set priority method, and also we can get the value of the priority by getting the get priority method. So these are the 2 methods we can use to set and get the value of the priority. So in theory, what exactly happens is higher priority threads gets more CPU time than the lower priority threads. This is what exactly happens. So for example, you have a higher priority thread, so that gets CPU more when compared to the lower priority thread. Okay, so that is regarding what is the concept of the thread priorities. But in general, for example, if your lower priority thread is running, okay, for example, if your lower priority thread is been running and your higher priority thread is either sleeping or it has been waiting. Now for example, it reassumes to run. Okay, then your lower priority thread will be preempted. That means that will be made to sleep, and this would come back and run higher priority thread will take the execution of the processor. That means that resumes the work by preempting the lower priority thread. In case if there are equal priority thread, then there should be an equal sharing of the CPU. That should be done by the compiler, so that equal processor is being divided between the both equal priority threads. So that is regarding the concept of how the thread priority works theoretically. So for example, if higher priority thread works, then that will get more CPU than the lower priority thread, and lower priority thread is running, and if your higher priority thread is sleeping and it want to resume to the processor, then this lower thread will be preempted. Lower thread will be preempted. So that is regarding the concept of the how the priority works. Okay, to set a thread's priority, you can use set priority method, which is again a member of the thread, So within this thread class, there are many methods that has been defined. Okay, so within this thread methods, there are many methods that has been defined. For example, we have seen isAlive, join, set priority, get name, set name, all those things. So in addition to that, even this is a method, set priority method. So you can set the priority of a thread. If not, default the priority of the thread, normal priority is 5. Okay, default to return the thread's default priority. So we had seen already in the previous program, whenever we are running the program, thread programs, we used to get the thread name, priority of the thread, and then we used to get the group of thread which it belongs. So that was giving me the default priority of the thread. So that is nothing but the normal priority, which is currently 5. Okay, then you can either get the minimum priority is 1, and maximum priority is 10. So the value of the level must be within the range of minimum priority and the maximum priority. Minimum here, whatever this level is there, right, that should be between the minimum priority and the maximum priority. So these values are actually 1 and 10 respectively, but the normal default priority is nothing but the 5. You can also obtain the current priority, whatever the priority of the thread, by getting final in get priority method. So this returns actually what is the priority of the thread. So this is regarding how you are going to set the priorities and how you are going to get the priorities. So based on this, there is a simple program which will show you the execution of how the priority works, thread priorities work. So let us see the example. So in this example, we have demonstration of the thread priorities. So here class clicker. Now this program is simple. We have two threads. Okay, one is main thread itself. Then we have low priority threads and the high priority thread. So what I'm doing in this particular program is I'm printing how many times the low priority thread has been run and how many times the higher priority thread has been done by using this click. Each time the thread is hitting the processor, right, it will be incremented. This value will be incremented. So that is regarding that is the output what I'm going to get in this priority program. So here class clicker, this is a class which will implement the runnable interface. So as you all know, based on the concept of runnable interface, I have just one method, abstract method, that is being defined under the runnable interface. That is nothing but void run method. In addition to that, this class can define its own methods. Okay, so class clicker implements runnable. Within this, we have defined 3 terms. One is long click equal to 0. Click equals it's like a counter. Each time your thread hits, it will increment. Okay, click is equal to counter. Thread object T. So this thread is been born and it is in start stage and stop stage. When you create thread T, it is been born and it is either in the start stage, or you can go and make it to be stop. That is, you can make it dead or you can make it start. After that, I have declared private volatile boolean running. Why I have declared running is a boolean value, okay, either true or false. That's why I have declared here boolean, and again I made it private, and then I included a term called volatile. Now why did I include the volatile? Because each thread can have its own copy. It should have, now for example, I told here 2 threads are there, higher priority thread and lower priority thread. So it should have its own copy of running. Okay, so it should have its own copy of running to fetch the values of how many times the click has been happened. That's why it should not be changed by any other part of the program. That's why I have declared it as volatile. So what is this doing is each thread can keep its own copy. Now for example, higher priority thread can keep its running and lower priority thread can keep its running. That's why I have declared volatile over here. Otherwise, they can change. This variable can be shared between anyone. So no one can touch this particular variable. That means the thread itself can, low priority thread can use its running and higher priority thread can be using its running. That's why I have declared volatile. Private, as you know, within the class itself, outside the class, you cannot access this particular running. So private, volatile, boolean, it is either true or false, and then running equal to true I have set. So these are the 3 variables I have declared over here. Okay, after that I called a constructor public clicker with int p. This int p is nothing but the priority what I'm going to pass. So this is one function. Over here I called t is equal to new thread this. I have not passed the name as a parameter. I've just taken this as an object which will be running the runnable interface. And when I tell this t when I tell this T, if I try to print this T, you know, default name of the thread, priority of the thread, as well as the default priority of the thread. If not, whatever the priority you send over here, that will be set. And no, if you just print after this, it will print the default priority of thread, name of the thread, and the group of the thread it belongs. After this, if you set this particular priority, right, after that if you print the priority, then whatever the new priority is there, that will be printing over there. So T dot set priority is there. What is the job of set priority? So it will set the priority. It will set the priority based on minimum value or maximum value. Minimum, that is 1, and minimum 1, and maximum 10, that will be set based on the priority. So we'll see where we are going. We are setting this priority in the main. So this is regarding the one simple constructor called clicker. So within the clicker, I defined a thread. I created a thread, new thread with the object, and then I set the priority creating that particular object, set priority. After that, just remember, this is the runnable interface abstract method, void public void run. So there I put while running. This while running is true. While running means it is true. You're going on incrementing this particular click value. Okay, so this you're going on click. After that, what will be the stop? When you tell stop, it's actually your thread is been dead. Your thread is been dead. So you should set running is equal to false. When you tell stop method, when you call stop method, your thread is been dead or your thread is been completed. Forcefully you're making a thread to terminate. If not, your thread is completed its execution. If not, you're telling that thread is dead. You're killing the thread. So that is what is happening. So that is what is happening between the public void stop running is equal to false. What about the start? You know what is start? It's in the start stage, and it will move to the runnable state. If the processor is available, it will go and allocate that particular processor, and it will move to this particular running stage. So just these all 4 functions are defined within this particular class. So I'll just repeat. Class clicker is a class name which will implement the runnable interface. So you know, runnable interface has run, only this particular method, and then this is the constructor, and then you have stop method and the start method. So start already you have seen. If start means thread is been ready for the execution, and it may be in the runnable state, and if the processor is available, it will go to the running state. So you can make the thread stop by using just running is equal to false. Running is equal to false. Here while running means it is true. Running value is true, right? While true, click plus plus, and then over here just I have set the priority within this constructor. That's it. I've set the priority within the constructor. So this is regarding the class clicker. Now let us move to the main. In this main, I have brought the main thread priority. I've set the main thread priority. I've set the high. Clicker high means high priority thread, low priority thread. So here what I did is, initially I set the priority of the main thread. So what is the priority of the main thread here? What is the priority of the main thread is, it is an thread class, current method, threads method is current method. Over there again you are setting the set priority. So that is nothing but within this set priority you set thread dot max priority. So what is the max priority? You know, it is 10. So for the main thread, this is nothing but the main thread. Thread is the main thread, you know, thread dot current whatever this thread is been working. For that I've given the priority as 10. Okay, then clicker high, that is an object of this particular clicker class. For that new operator clicker, I have given the priority for that as thread dot normal priority. You know what is the normal priority? 5 plus 2. So it will go to this particular function, clicker 7. Clicker 7. It will come to this particular function, clicker 7, and here it will set the priority as 7 for the 7 for the high. So T is equal to new thread this. So it will give the information about the thread, and for this I'm going to set the priority as 7. T dot set priority. Now when you print the this particular thread info, it will have its default name main, as well as it will have its priority as 7, and then it will have the group of thread it belongs. Okay, so that is, here it is priority of higher thread is 7. Here clicker low, new clicker, thread dot normal priority minus 2. So normal priority minus 2 will be 5 minus 2. So the lower for this it is 3. Okay, so I'll just tell regarding these. This is the thread class. Within that current thread I called method. For that current thread I have set the priority as the thread dot max priority. What is the max priority? It is 10. So for the main thread, I've said the current thread is nothing but your main thread. For that, you have given the priority as highest, 10. After that, I declared one more thread, and that is nothing but high. For that clicker high, within that I'm going to set the priority, right? So thread dot normal priority plus 2. So over there, when I go clicker constructor, it will set this priority to be 7, and over there when I go, it will set this priority to be 3. Why? 5 minus 2 is 3. So if you go back over here, this function will just set the priority. After that, I gave start. You know what is the job of low.start and high.start. It will start these threads for the execution, and it will be there in the runnable states. Both the threads will be in the runnable states. Okay, both the threads will be in the runnable states. So what will happen? In case if it gets the processor, it will directly enter this runnable state while running. That means while true, it will increment one for this will be getting incremented, one for lower thread, one for the higher priority thread. Both threads will be executing simultaneously. And then what I did is I made the main thread to sleep. Within this try, I made thread.sleep. That is nothing but the main thread, whatever is there, that I made it to sleep for 10,000 milliseconds. So in case if that sleeping thread is being interrupted, then I've called this catch. So why I'm using this try catch? As I told, whenever you're using thread.sleep, right, that is an action, thread.sleep. So it will be in sleep. So for example, it shouldn't be interrupted by anyone else. In case if it is interrupted, then it should be done through the try catch method itself. That is the concept why you're using try catch throughout this program. So since we are including sleep method, which will be actually sleeping for certain milliseconds, if it is being interrupted, then it should be caught by this particular catch. So that's why I've called main thread interrupted. After this is completed, this has been completed, what I'll do is at certain stage I'll make low.stop and high.stop. That means I'll make my threads dead. Stop is nothing but finally I'm making my thread to dead. Low.stop.high.stop. So your thread has been finished over here. When it is you call the stop, means your thread has been completed of both the priorities. Finally what I'm going to do is how much the processor it has been occupied. For example, how much it has been clicked. Now for example, how many times it has been run. Counter has been run. So that will be printed over here. System out.println low priority thread and system out.println high priority thread. Now what is happening over here when you print, right? So higher priority thread will be executed more than the lower priority thread. That's what I told. You might have started with low.start. When low.start goes to the initially your main thread will be running. Initial stage max priority is given for this main thread will be running. So once it goes to the sleep, these two will start running, low.start and high.start. Initially low.start might be running, but since it is having less priority than this, when higher priority threads try to attack, then higher priority thread will be giving the preference. So it will be preempted, it will preempt the lower thread, and this will try to execute. So when compared to both the outputs, how many times the counter has incremented, this will having the highest output, more utilization of the processor than this particular lower priority thread. Okay, in addition to this, when you tell low.stop itself, it's dead, right? High.stop and low.stop thread is dead. In addition, just have put one try block just to check whether your thread has been finished. Higher thread has been finished and lower thread has been finished. This is an optional. Even if you don't put this particular, if you put a comment line also, no issue. This concept will be executed. This is when you tell over here itself your thread is being terminated, but you can also wait for child threads to terminate in this block also. That is high.t join means it will wait until higher priority thread finish, and low.t join means it will wait until this particular thread finishes its work. Just use the concept of within this priority have used the concept of the join also. So it's an optional. If you want, you can use it. If not, it's fine. So finally this will be working, and after that this will be printing how many times it has been executed. So let us see the execution part over here. So let me run this IO same program. So let me run. So you can see over here. See here, when you see low priority thread, this is comparatively less than the higher priority, but initially I called the low priority thread itself. Main thread will be running, but low priority thread I called first. It will run first, but later higher priority thread preempts the lower priority thread. That means it has more priority, so it will try to preempt. So same way, simultaneously both will hitting the processor, and this is how many times it will be, click will be incremented. So low.click means nothing but it will call this particular click function. It will call this particular it will print this particular low.click means it will print this particular click value, how many times it has been there for the lower priority and the higher. Initially I told long click is equal to 0, right? So for the for the lower priority thread, this click value will be printed, and for the higher priority thread, click value will be printed. So you should call using the thread low.click, high.click. So that is been printed over here. Last two statements, low.click and high.click. In addition to that, if you want to comment this particular line also, no issue, because already your two threads are being dead. But why I have used join is whether to check whether your thread has been completed or not. So you can comment these two lines and you can see the execution. Still you will get the output for this. Still you can exclude those statements. Still you will get the output, like how many times the lower priority has been run and how many times the higher priority has been run. So this is regarding the thread priorities. Okay, so you can see here, see we got the output. So you can see in this way also how many times it is being done. So I'll just repeat the concept. Within this class, clicker implements the runnable. I had click equal to 0 and thread t, and then this boolean running is equal to true. So this was why I've set it this volatile, because so that no other will manipulate this value. Each thread, it will take its own running value. Okay, it will take its own running value. That's why it should not be manipulated, one for lower priority thread and one for higher priority thread. And here clicker setting the priority. Run, you know it is running, so it is true initially set. If it is running, it will set. Stop means running should be made false. Obviously stop means false, no more thread is been running. And t.start is nothing but thread is going to begin. And same way I called setting the priority. So you know this max priority means main thread is been set for 10, so initially that will be running, and then for lower priority is set, this will be 7 and this will be 3. As you know, thread dot normal priority is 5 plus 2 is 7, 5 minus 2 is 3. And then I've given the start, but it may be waiting for the processor, it may not be running. So once main thread comes to sleep, these may get the processor, so it will start hitting the processor. The click will automatically getting incremented, and finally when I want to terminate both the threads, I just gave a stop, low.stop and high.stop, so it will stop the thread working, and I printed how many times it has been hit the processor. So this is regarding the example of the high and low priority threads. Next concept is regarding the synchronization. Now what do you mean by synchronization is, general concept is one thread within a period of time. If there are, for example, 3 or 4 threads, but one thread should finish the execution within a period of time. That is synchronization. So what does it tell? What is the definition is, when 2 or more threads needs access to a shared resource, when 2 or more threads needs an access to a shared resource, they need some way to ensure that the resources will be used by only one thread at a time. For example, thread 1, thread 2, thread 3, thread 4 all try to attack and resource. So what is happening till now, what we had seen is, if one goes to sleep, one more is executing, one goes to sleep, one more is executing. No, but what do you mean by synchronization is, if one thread occupies a resource, it should complete its process in that particular time, only one thread at a time. The process by which this is achieved is called nothing but the synchronization. So what does it mean? That it tells that it will allow only one thread to allocate the process at a time. Okay, and it should complete its task. So that is the meaning of the synchronization. The key to synchronization is the concept of the monitor. So this is the key to the synchronization concept, which is also called as a semaphore. So what is happening is, a monitor is an object that is used. A monitor is nothing but it is an object that is used as a mutually exclusive lock or mutex. It is an monitor is nothing but it is considered as an object. It is considered as an object which is used as a mutually exclusive lock. That means only thread can own a monitor at a given time. Okay, the synchronization is achieved by the monitor. Now for example, consider a laptop monitor itself. So that monitor is in lock, or at a time only one thread can occupy at a time. Only one thread can own a monitor at a given time. So this is the concept of the synchronization. So what is the definition of the synchronization is when we have more than one thread which will try to access a shared resource, but we have to make ensure that only one thread will occupy the resource at a time. So this process is synchronization. So this is achieved by synchronization is achieved by the object called monitor. So what is the job of monitor? It will put a lock in such a way that only one thread can have that monitor at a given time. So this is regarding the definition of the synchronization and how we are going to use the synchronization methods. Okay, how we are going to use the synchronization methods. So in this synchronization method, what does it tell in is nothing but for example, using methods, synchronization is easy because all objects have their own implicit monitor associated with them. Okay, in this concept is telling that you have all the objects, whatever is being created, any number of objects you have created, it will have its own monitor to be executed. To enter an object's monitor, just call a method. Okay, to ensure, and what do you mean is to make it a synchronized method. That means only one thread you should run at a time. You should call a synchronized keyword in front of the method what you're going to call. For example, any method you're going to define, within that you call the number of threads iteration over there. Besides that call, for example, like void call me class extends, or for example the constructor like void call me. Okay, besides that there you mention synchronized call me. So while a thread is inside the synchronized block, right, when it is inside the synchronized block, when you use the keyword, now for example here I have used I'll just show you somewhere. Here I have used the synchronized call. 1 minute. Yeah, here. See, I've used synchronized. Other than that, I can use here also synchronized. I'll tell you how. Synchronized void call if I use. So what it will do is it will make your entire block to finish its execution and keeping all other threads pause. All other threads. So while a thread is inside a synchronized method, all threads that try to call it on the same instance have to wait to exit the monitor and to give the control over the object to the next waiting thread. Okay, it will try to exit the monitor and the control will be given to the next waiting time. The owner of the monitor simply returns from the synchronized method. Okay, so what is it telling is if you use the synchronized method or a synchronized keyword in front of your function, so that function will take place by only one thread and it will finish its execution, and next whatever the thread is waiting, right, for that the monitor will be allocated to exit the monitor and to relink to give the control of the object to the next waiting thread. The owner of the monitor simply returns from the synchronized method. He has to return from the synchronized method. So this is regarding the concept of synchronization. So as I told, to make it synchronization, right, you should use the keyword synchronized. You should use the keyword synchronized. So this is the concept. In front of the method, you can either use in front of the method or also you can use in front of the object. So what is the job of synchronized? If you use synchronized, only one thread will be running in that particular method. Once it completes, the waiting thread will get the monitor to execute its activity, to execute that activity. So this is regarding synchronization and using synchronization method. There is an example. So this is a program which is not synchronized. Okay, the output of this is not synchronized. I'll tell you how. Just we'll go with the flow of this particular program. This program is not at all synchronized. Next program, whatever I'm going to tell, this program is the same program, but just I use the keyword called synchronized. That's it. So this program will get the output as the synchronized output. So let us come back to this particular program. Class call me is the class call me is the class which I'm going to create. Within that I'm going to call put one function called void call, okay, with the parameter string message. I have class call me. Within this void call I put a parameter called string message, and then whatever this message is there, that will be passed, and I printed over here angular bracket, and that message will be printed. Okay, remember there is a class call me class call me. In that class call me, void call string message system.out.print, and then I have this particular message, and then I've called try catch. Within that I made this thread to sleep for 1000 milliseconds, and if that sleeping thread is being interrupted, it is being cached, and if it is normally terminated, if it doesn't go to this catch, I mean if it's completed the sleep, it will tell that this is the closing bracket. So what is this happening actually? How the output should be, if it is synchronized, right, the output should be like angular bracket, whatever this message you send. For example, let us send like welcome. Okay, let us send like welcome. So it should execute in such a way, angular bracket message this, if it is a synchronized. But this program is not an synchronized. I'll tell you, it is not an synchronized because I did not use synchronized keyword in front of this particular function, in front of this particular function. It's not, it's just an example how, what is the difference between the synchronized and the non-synchronized. So I called class call me, then I created a void call function, and this message, for example, let it be welcome, system out.print, it will print till here, and if thread sleeps for certain time, if sleeping thread is interrupted, it will print this. If not, it will print this. But in between this, for example, multi-thread is there. In between, if this many threads is there, output will vary. For example, angular bracket will come, welcome might come, and for example one more function you might have created, one more function, one more thread you might have created with the message called welcome today. Okay, now what will happen after this? Again one more angular bracket might come, and then today might come, then today might come. So it is actually what, this is not in a synchronized format of output. So this is just a function, void call try catch and system.out.println. If this execution is done, this would be printed. So this is regarding this. Next I have class caller. Okay, this is one call me class. Within that I called call function, and then I have class caller, which will be implementing my runnable interface. So you know what is there in the runnable interface, it's just a run function, okay, which will implement the runnable interface. Then caller might have its own constructor. So we already have here public caller, call me, targ and string s. Okay, public caller, call me, targ, string s. So what is happening over here is string message, let it be the string message, let it be over here. Then you have call me target, then you have thread t, then you have thread t. I'll tell you why I'm going to use all these things. Message, whatever you passed, okay, whatever you pass. Target is an object of this particular function, and then thread t is an object of this particular thread class. Target is an object of this class call me, target is an object of this particular class call me class, t is an object of this thread class, and string message. These three things I have just defined over here, and then I call the constructor. Within this constructor I call this call me object, that is call me targ, and then string s. Okay, string s. So string s is nothing but the message what you pass, whatever the pass. Okay, so that target will be stored over here, message will be stored over here. Then I called the thread constructor this is nothing but which is actually the thread's object which will run this particular interface. So you already know, you have learned throughout. Then I call t.start. In case if your processor is available, it will directly go to this particular run. Then I call target is the object of this call me. Okay, target is the object of this particular call me. That object dot call, that target is an object of the call me class. So target dot within this class I created target, right? So target dot call parameter I sent as this particular message. So that will call this particular function. So you just analyze this particular function. What is happening over here is you have void call string message. So in this nothing, whatever the message is to be printed, right, that is written over here. You just remember that whatever the message is to be printed, that is written over here, and the function name is call, and it will take the parameter as just a message that is defined under it call me. And here what is happening, class caller implements the runnable interface. So it defines three things. One is string message, and one more is target of this particular object. Why I have defined this target? Because I want to run this particular function. So through this object I am calling this particular function. That's it. Call me target. You cannot call the function by using the class. So obviously you have to call using the object. So target dot call, when I give within the runnable, that will call this particular function. So target dot call within the parameter message what I want to send, that will call this particular function. So here I called one thing is here I called the constructor. So that constructor is just to store the target name, whatever the target name you're sending, and then the message what you're sending, and it will make your thread for execution over here. When you tell new thread this, that is ready for execution, and it is the object that is being created of the thread, and it is the one thing which is running the runnable interface. So in between t dot start and then public void run. So this is the concept. Now let us come from the main. Let us come the flow from the main. So what I did is public static void main string args. Public static void main string args. So what is happening over here? Main has been started. Then I called call me target new call me. Call me target new call me. So target is an object of the call me. Target is an object of the call me. So this is the call me function. Okay, target is an object of the call me. So it will instantiate the nothing but it is used to instantiate the call me class. It is going to instantiate the call me class using the target object. Next what I did is caller object 1 I called, caller object 1, object 2, object 3. Okay, and then I called new caller with using new operator. I called caller with the target and hello synchronized and world as the message. So these were the parameters. If you remember here, go back over here, this caller had call me class object name and then string s. So that call me class object name is nothing but the target what I've created here. Target. So that will instantiate your call me function. So you can call this within this any function if it is defined. For example, call was defined within this. You can call using the target object. Okay. So new caller target object, and then you're going, this target is nothing but the object and hello is the message. So when I call this caller object is equal to new caller target hello, it will go directly over here. Okay, and your target is being passed, and your first one was hello message. Hello will be passed. So target will be stored in this particular object. Hello will be stored in this particular message. Now your thread is being started for the execution. Okay, then t dot start I have given. When I give t dot start, what will happen? It might wait for the processor or it might start running. So when I give, for example, if it is not started, it's waiting for the processor, then it will be in running. If it has been started, it will come to public void run. For example, it will come over here, public void. So what will happen? Target dot call message. Message is your hello. So it will come over here. Okay, because what is happening? Target dot call message. So call message is this. So it will come print the square bracket message is hello. So square bracket hello. Okay, by that time it prints hello, and if this thread goes to sleep, what will happen? It will return to this particular main, and for example next is been called. So again it will be target and synchronized. So here it will come target and synchronized. So in the target will be stored, message synchronized will be stored, and again new thread will be called. Your thread will be ready for the execution. Second thread start again. If the processor is available, immediately target dot call message synchronized will be passed. So again angular bracket after hello angular bracket will open and synchronized will print, and again if that thread goes to sleep, again this target world will be coming over here. So within this target world, what is happening? It goes back over here, caller target and world. Target will be stored, world will be stored, new thread will be begin, start. If the processor is available, void public void run, target dot call message, world will be printed. So it will come and execute. So if the completion is done, it will put the angular bracket back. So this is regarding if it is been not synchronized. I am not used the keyword synchronized. Okay, then what is happening within this? Waiting for the threads to finish. So I used here join. Join means it will wait for this first object to finish, object thread to finish, second thread object 2 to finish, and third thread object 3 to finish. So once it is been, if it is been interrupted, then it will tell interrupted. If it is been finished successfully, it is been finished. That's what it is being told over here. So we'll just check the output of this when it is in the case of not synchronized. Similarly, same program, okay, same concept. If you just put a difference over here, if you just put a keyword here, synchronized, if you just put a keyword synchronized, the output will vary. That is one thing. And one more thing, you can put either here. If not, you can also call like previous function, whatever is in, just you're calling this before this target, whatever the target object itself you're calling, whatever for the object itself you're calling the synchronized. That's it. This is an extra line when compared over here. when compared over here, so this is here I call target.call message, right? Prior to this I'm just calling target synchronized target. So what will happen, this entire block will get synchronized, this entire block will get synchronized. So that is the difference. So let us see the output for both. The program is same program for the both, only difference is here I am using the synchronized block. So let me run over here. So this is the first one without synchronization, okay, without synchronization, what I've made to run. So I'll just compile and run over here. So you can see here, see what is happening over here. Just come to the void main. It came to void main, it created a call me, it instantiate target object instantiate the call me function, and then I called caller object new caller target comma hello. So when I call target comma hello, obviously it will go to caller function. So this is the caller function. Here target will be stored in this and hello will be stored in this. The new thread is begin for the execution, and then t dot start, and then public void run target dot call message, target dot call message. So what is happening in this target dot call message? Target dot call message. So within this target dot call message, it will call your hello, and this will go to the function called call. It will go to the function called call. So here it will print this angular bracket. Message was whatever first message was your synchronized, I guess. What was the message? No, first was the hello itself message, but when it called over here itself, it another thread tried to occupy that particular second thread. I mean all these threads were there, okay. When it called that particular message, it went for sleep and second thread tried to occupy and the third thread tried to occupy. So what is happening, these three threads were also trying to occupy that particular processor. So the output is like square bracket, then it came, instead of hello should be completed, actually hello should be completed according to the synchronized concept, only hello should be printed, then synchronized, then word, but here it is in the unordered way, it is not in a synchronized way. So hello, just a square bracket came, hello came later, synchronized came first, again square bracket, then hello came, then word. See the output again it varies. Again when you run next time, see hello came first, angular bracket hello came, then world came, then synchronized. So this is like same like previous concept what we have learned. The output cannot be predicted, it's not in a synchronized way in the threading concepts. To make it synchronized, you just need to add the term synchronized over here. For example, here in front of this also you can add synchronized. Just need to add the word synchronized. If you add this term over here, just synchronized, see the output. Hello, just hello executed, just world executed, just synchronized executed. So this is regarding how the concept of synchronize work. Other than this, in this sync one, okay, sync one, I just told, right, you can just call for the object also, you can just call for the object also. So here I have called for the object, synchronized for the target. That is the only difference I have done. When same program, just I called for this object, synchronized target, and then what will happen, this entire, if you call for the object also, this entire call me block will be synchronized. So now you just run, again the output will be synchronized over here. Either you can call to the methods, you can also call to the objects of that particular class which has to be synchronized. So I called for the synchronized target, and then I opened the bracket once I called this for the synchronized method. When I called for the synchronized for the object, right, synchronized method, within that I passed the object as the parameter. So this became entirely synchronized block. This target block entirely it became synchronized block. Then I called target.call message. So when it goes back over here and it calls this block, right, it entire block is synchronized. Now what is the meaning of synchronized? Only one thread can execute at a time. Once it has finished, it will give the waiting thread for the execution. So this is regarding the concept of the synchronization, and these two were the examples for the thread not synchronized and synchronized. Not synchronized, this was the, you cannot expect the output. That's what I told. All threads might appear at a time. Okay, here one thread will finish execution, second thread will finish its execution, third thread will finish its execution. So here the difference I just called is for the target. If not, if you don't want to use this entire statement itself, if this closing bracket and this, you can just call synchronized for this in front of this particular message also. That is also fine. That is also an example for the synchronized block. So this is regarding the concept of synchronization. Thank you.